Chapter 15. How long are you going to have the extra shadow? Alexis tilted her head toward the back porch where Mickey sat, vigilantly watching the backyard for signs of any threat. The meeting with the enforcer team was still fresh in my mind, as it had only broken up a couple hours before. I shrugged. Until Devon's not worried anymore, I guess. We had only been rescued the day before, and the extra guard wasn't getting on my nerves yet. I knew, given enough time, I would start to get tired of it, but we hadn't gotten there yet. The ghost of a smile formed on her lips. Doesn't it drive you crazy to have someone following you all the time? They don't follow me, they just stay with me. I glanced out the window at my newest bodyguard. I kinda got used to it when it was just Gavin. I like Mickey, and it's not a whole lot different. It's not like they skulk in the shadows and stalk me. What if you want to be alone? They respect my privacy. They check the room, then let me nap or bathe in peace. I grinned. I knew that Caden guarded her during clinic hours or whenever she was needed as a healer, and her mate Hank couldn't go along, but she'd never had a full-time bodyguard. It was something that took getting used to. Alexis shook her head. I don't know how you can be so nonchalant about it. Keeping someone with me, or even two someones, makes Dev feel better, and it isn't going to kill me. After the last few months, I can see the value in that. It doesn't hurt, though if it lasts very long it might get a little awkward. My friend frowned. Awkward how? My family. Only my parents and Rain know about the Kitsune, the rest have no clue. They have no idea of most of what I've dealt with for the last 8 months. They'd find it really strange that I've got 2 men with me whenever Devon's not. Mom knows about Gavin, she treats him like a family friend and helps me cover for him, but I haven't told anyone but Rain about the latest kidnapping, so I don't know what to tell them about Mickey. Alexis pursed her lips, thinking for a moment. What do they know about Brandon? They know what he did before he left, and he tried to have me kidnapped twice. Do they know he's back? I thought for a second. I had no clue if they knew he had returned. I had spent so much of the last 2 months avoiding anyone, I had no idea what they'd been told or not. I don't know. Find out. Then you can tell them that he's been spotted in the area, or that Troy has been. Since he tried to kidnap you in Texas, I assume they know about that? I nodded. Then there's no reason not to use it now. I blinked. Duh. Why didn't that occur to me? Because you've got a lot on your plate, so to speak. She lay one hand on top of mine where it rested on the table. It's okay to not be on top of everything, there's a lot to juggle right now. I gave her a half-hearted smile. Thanks. I'm trying to pick up all the pieces I dropped after losing the baby, and I'm realizing there are a lot more than I thought there were. Take your time. No one will blame you if you can't do it all right now. Her voice was soft and soothing. I knew she was right, but felt like I was somehow failing. Maybe I was only failing at meeting my own expectations. I'll try. So, what brought you over today? Nothing much, I leaned back and looked out the window. Bill told me to take a few days off, give them a chance to figure out what's going on, and if the others are in the area. He said the best way to keep me safe was to change my schedule, not do anything that would be expected, but I needed to get out of the house. I was starting to feel trapped. Considering recent events, that's not unreasonable. I rolled my shoulders. I'd been stiff and tense since waking up in that storeroom, and I suspected the feeling would last until whatever was going on was over. I thought you could use some help with the clinic. I tilted my head towards the backyard where the converted guest house sat. And even if not, we could visit. Where else is a bunch of shifters not going to go unnoticed? Alexis laughed. You act as though anyone but Pac would know we're shifters. No, I know they wouldn't know, but still. People around town are used to seeing me with either Devin or Gavin, and I'm sure there are plenty of rumors going around about that. But if I were to show up with another guy, that'll start people talking for sure. Alexis rolled her eyes. I know what you mean, and I don't often have to go out with Caden. Rumors start at the drop of a hat, and in a town this size, they spread like wildfire. But don't let what people may or may not be saying stop you from doing what you need to do. You and Devin know the truth, and that's all that matters. I know. I looked down at my hands. I didn't really know how I felt about the rumors I was sure were going around, though no one had said anything to me, not yet. Hell, I wasn't even sure that the sick feeling in my stomach came from the idea of what people were saying. It's just the only explanation I'd come up for it. Nickie, Alexis asked softly. Are you sure it's people talking you're worried about? What do you mean? I looked up at her. What else is there? How do you feel about Brandon being back? Her voice was still soft. You haven't talked about him at all since he came back. I looked back down at my hands, then out the window to where Mickey sat. I don't know, I said finally. It was the truth. I really couldn't put my feelings into words. At first I'd been so absorbed in my own loss and pain that I'd simply ignored his return, but more recently it hadn't worked. Come on, you've got to have some feelings? I could feel her watching me. Have you seen him yet? Yeah, I've seen him. I still avoided meeting her gaze. And, she prompted. She wasn't going to let it drop. I was going to have to talk about it. I took a deep breath and let it out slowly. He looked like shit. He was covered in bruises and looked like he'd been beaten. Okay, but that's not what I wanted to know. How did seeing him make you feel? I was scared. I dreaded seeing him for several weeks before he was banished, then he started with the kidnapping crap. I was angry at him for what he'd done to me. But when I saw him, he wasn't scary. He was the boy I'd been friends with since kindergarten, and he was hurting. My anger fizzled at the pain on his face as he stood there looking back at me. Did he say anything? Not to me. He had insisted on seeing me before he would give Devin any more information on Annie's killers, but he didn't even try to talk to me. Did you want him to? I looked at her a second, then looked away again. This was hard enough without looking her in the face while I confessed. I don't know. I guess I thought he would at least try. I hesitated. Maybe try to tell me he's sorry for what he put me through, but he didn't. I used one thumbnail to pick at the nail polish on the other hand. Has it occurred to you that maybe he'd been warned not to talk to you? I don't know Devin all that well anymore, but if it were Hank in the same situation, he'd likely have warned him that talking to me would only get him beaten again. Given how protective Devin is of you, both before you sealed your mating and after, I wouldn't put it past him. I shrugged. I don't know. I hadn't thought about it. Is that the only time you've seen Brandon since he came back? No, there was one other time. Did he talk to you then? No, but he didn't have much chance. I kept my distance, even going so far as to sit in the truck to avoid him. She watched me for a moment. I think you need to sit down and talk to him. My heart raced. What would I say to him? I don't know. I felt her eyes on me. I think you need to tell him how he made you feel, vent your anger at him, and see if he has anything to say. I'm pretty sure Devin won't agree to that. I think if he knew how much you need it, you'd be surprised what he would agree to. I dusted the nail polish chips off my clothes. I don't know if I could talk to him with Devin there. I fell silent for a few seconds. I don't want to hurt his feelings by asking him, but I'm not sure I can let go of my emotions and really tell Brandon how I feel with Devin watching. I'll talk to Hank and maybe the Anikitos and see what can be done. No, don't. I wasn't sure about the whole thing but knew it was something I had to do. I don't need to talk to him that bad. I looked at her, desperate for her not to talk to Bill or Hank about this. I think you do, she said. I'm pretty sure that it's important that you do this. There are a lot of reasons, but mainly for some closure. You can't let your relationship with him end with unexpressed anger and fear. My shoulders slumped and all the fight went out of me. I couldn't argue with her logic. She was right. I was going to have to talk to him. All right. This certainly wasn't how I'd hoped the visit would go, but I knew that Alexis wouldn't put me through something as hard as talking to Brandon was going to be unless she really thought it would help. I'll talk to Devin about it. I'll do it. Don't look so wounded. It won't be a pleasant experience, but I'm confident it will help in the long run. I didn't want to talk about Brandon anymore. I'd agreed to do what she wanted, but I wasn't happy about it, and I didn't see how I could be. I nodded, then changed the subject. You heard anything from Bill about shifting Bess and Guidry? Yeah, he called this morning, said something about doing it next week. That meant they'd be around for another week or so. I wondered why he was waiting so long to deal with this. I'm sure he's still getting things set, I said. I just hate keeping them waiting, especially after how helpful Bo was in finding us. What do you mean? How was he helpful? I looked at her surprised she didn't already know. Apparently, he's some kind of finder. He can sense where lost people are. What an interesting talent. She tilted her head to one side. What have you heard about our visitors? I frowned. Nothing. I had no clue what she was talking about. Devin wasn't happy that they're here. He didn't like that we have no idea how long they've been here, and no idea how long they could have stayed in town if they hadn't come to me, without the pack knowing. He said it's a huge security problem. He's right. Bill said he's put the word out that we're looking for more enforcers. He also said opening it up to all shifters, not just wolves, was your idea. My face heated and I knew I was blushing. Yeah. It just made sense. I shrugged. If we had more animal forms, not just wolves in the pack, then we might know more. We might have heard about the Guidrys coming before they got here. I knew there had to be a good reason I like you. Alexis gave me a teasing grin. Well, besides that, you're funny and sweet. You've got one hell of a brain too when it's not mucked up with emotional shit. Yeah, well, I started to make some excuse, I didn't even know what. Don't worry about it. She waved one hand in my direction. We all have emotional shit of our own. Sometimes it gets too deep to wade through alone. That's what friends and family are for. Since I consider you a friend, I'm here for you. My eyes stung and I knew there were tears pooling in them. I blinked fast, trying to hold them back. I just wish it was someone else's turn. Don't we all? Desperate to talk about something less stressful, I changed the subject again. You planning on going to the party? Out at the ranch? We'll be there, she said without waiting for me to answer. Dev says he's calling it a Super Bowl party, but there will be plenty of people not watching the game. I hope he's right. I can't imagine spending hours in the cold to watch a football game. Alexis laughed. You realize that there are thousands who sit in stadiums a lot colder than it gets here to watch games, don't you? They're welcome to it. I don't get it, but then, I don't care to watch from the comfort of my couch either. You're not alone, and there will be plenty at the party who feel the same way. Good. How are things going? Everything about ready? I shrugged. I have no idea. Dev's refused to let me do anything. He says he's got it all under control. He's doing it all himself? On top of working for your dad and his Theron duties? She sounded amazed. He's got the team doing most of it, he's just organizing them. That's good. He's got enough going on. He doesn't need to be doing all the work to get ready for a party big enough for the whole pack. That's what I thought, and why I've offered to help several times. He keeps refusing. I didn't mention the reason he'd decided to throw the party. I was pretty sure she knew anyway, so there was no point. We chatted for a little while longer before Mickey stuck his head in the back door. The Theron just messaged me, said he's got a couple more things to take care of and he'll be home in an hour or so. Thanks, Mickey, I'll be out in a few minutes, I called back. I suspected my guards were keeping Devon appraised of our whereabouts, but this was the first I'd thought about him doing the same with them. It made sense now that I thought about it. I said goodbye to Alexis, promising to see her Sunday if we didn't talk before then, and picked up my purse. All right, Gavin. I didn't bother raising my voice. He was just in the next room, and I was pretty sure he'd been able to hear every word we'd said. Time to go. He appeared in the doorway seconds later, pulling his cap from his back pocket and settling it on his head. Ready when you are. His casual manner, despite what he had to have overheard, was part of why he and I got along so well. I led the way to the back door and out on the porch, where Mickey was once again sitting in one of the patio chairs. Mickey stood and I turned back to Alexis. Thanks so much for today, I had a good time. No, you didn't, but it probably helped anyway. She gave me an understanding smile. I did enjoy it, some of it. I qualified. She laughed. Come back anytime, you're always welcome, all of you. Mickey started down the steps and toward the parking lot where Gavin's pickup was parked. I followed, turning to wave at Alexis as I went. Gavin fell into place behind me, making sure I was protected from the front and back.